The desperate Valzira stepped off the small cargo ship and into the cold night air of Earth's trade colony. Her thin jacket did little to protect her from the wind that swept across the metal landing bay. She pulled it tighter around her shoulders, but it was no use. Her stomach growled loudly, reminding her that she had not eaten since yesterday. Her planet, Akala, was poor and dying. She had sold everything to buy this one-way ticket to Earth. She believed Earth was a place of hope, a place where aliens could find work and live a better life. But now that she was here, fear crept into her heart. She walked slowly down the crowded street. The colony was busy, full of ships, traders, and workers from many planets. Neon lights glowed above her, showing signs for shops, factories, and food stalls. She stopped at a shop with a bright blue sign that read, "Help Wanted." Her heart raced with hope. She stepped inside and walked up to the human at the counter. He was tall, with dark hair and cold eyes. "Please," she said softly. "I am new here. I need work. Any job will do. I will clean, carry heavy things. Anything." The human man looked at her and then quickly shook his head. "No jobs here. Go away." Her heart sank. She walked out and kept going. Just ahead was a factory with a workers needed sign. She rushed inside. The human supervisor glanced at her, then turned away without a word. "Please," Zira begged. "I am strong. I can work hard. Please give me a chance." The supervisor did not even look back at her. Another rejection. Zira's hands trembled. She didn't understand. The sign said workers were needed, but when she asked, they all said no. She went from shop to shop, from factory to factory, and every time the answer was the same. No jobs here. Some humans even closed their doors as soon as they saw her face. Why? Why did they refuse? Her fear grew as the night fell. Cold. Wind blew harder now, and she felt weak. She hadn't eaten all day. She sat down near a small fire where other aliens were gathered. But when she approached, they too turned away from her. "Why won't anyone speak to me?" She whispered to herself, her eyes filled with tears as she sat in the shadows. She noticed something strange. A human man in a long dark coat was standing across the street. He was watching her closely, but did not move. His face was hidden in shadow. Why was he watching her? Zero got up and moved quickly to another street. But when she turned around, the man was still there, standing in the distance. She hurried to the next food stall. The smell of fried food made her stomach ache. She begged the owner, an older human woman with kind eyes, "Please, ma'am, Thai. I'm hungry. I can work for food. Anything you need." The woman's smile faded as soon as she looked closer at Zira's face. Without a word, she turned her back and went inside, closing the stall window. Zira's tears fell freely now. She leaned against a wall, sliding down until she sat on the cold ground. Her hope was almost gone. Why did every door close for her? What was wrong with her that no one would even let her work? She heard footsteps nearby and quickly wiped her tears. The man in the dark coat was walking toward her now. Her heart raced. She tried to stand up and run, but her legs were weak from hunger. The man stopped a few steps away and said nothing. He simply watched her, his face still hidden. The silence was heavy, making her feel smaller and more afraid. Then he finally spoke, his voice low and calm. "You won't find work here, not like this." His words chilled her even more. He knew what she had been trying to do. He had been following her all night. "Why?" she asked in a shaking voice. "Why does no one want me? I just need work. Food. Shelter." The man did not answer her question. Instead, he said, "You are not allowed here unless you are chosen." Chosen. What did that mean? Before she could ask, he turned and walked away, disappearing into the dark streets. Zero sat there, confused and afraid. Chosen. Who chooses? Why? The cold night wrapped around her like a blanket of ice. Her stomach ached, and her heart felt heavier than ever. She looked up at the stars, wondering if coming to Earth had been a terrible mistake. But deep inside, something burned quietly, a small hope that she might still survive. If she could learn what this chosen meant. The silent streets the next morning, Zero woke up on the cold ground, her body stiff and sore. The streets were empty now, only a few humans walking quickly, their eyes looking away from her. Bright signs and colorful lights from last night seemed dull in the daylight. Her stomach twisted painfully. She stood slowly and began to walk again, her eyes scanning every corner for work or kindness. But the colony felt different today, quieter, colder, as she walked. She felt it again, the strange feeling from the night before. Someone was watching her. She turned sharply. Across the street, hidden in the shadows of a tall building, was a child, a human child. The boy looked no older than 10, wearing a red jacket far too big for him. His eyes met hers, wide and curious. For a moment, Zero smiled softly. Maybe the child would speak to her. Maybe he would understand her pain. But then, the boy's mother appeared suddenly, pulling him away roughly. She whispered something quickly and shot Zero a fearful look before disappearing into a shop. Zero felt her heart sink deeper. Even children were told not to speak to her. Why? The question haunted her more and more. Every shop and house she passed seemed to close their doors tighter when they saw her. Even other aliens avoided her now, lowering their heads or crossing the street. As she kept walking, she saw something written on a wall. The writing was messy, but she could read it clearly. Protectors keep us safe. Don't talk to them. Them. Was that about her? Her mind raced. Was there something dangerous about her that she didn't know? Suddenly, a hand touched her shoulder from behind. She jumped, her heart pounding, and turned around quickly. It was a woman, an alien like her, with pale blue skin and tired eyes. The woman looked around nervously and spoke in a whisper. "You must leave, child. You are marked." Zero froze. Marked. What does that mean? The woman shook her head. I cannot explain here. The protectors are always watching. Zero looked around but saw no one nearby. Still, the woman spoke in a fearful whisper, as if cameras or ears were hidden in every corner. Please, Zero begged. I have nothing. No food, no shelter. No one will hire me. Please tell me what is happening. The woman sighed and spoke quickly. You are a Caloron. Your people, your kind, are not trusted here. Zero's eyes widened. Why? Are peaceful? The woman looked even more afraid. It's not about peace. There's a story. Long ago, but I cannot tell it. Only a protector can. Before Zero could ask more, the woman hurried away, disappearing into the crowd. Zero stood still for a long moment. Her mind was spinning. The word protector kept coming up. And that dark man from last night, was he a protector? She wandered deeper into the colony. The streets became quieter, narrower, and darker. The buildings were older here, their windows cracked and dirty. Then she noticed something strange again. The dark-coated man was back, standing far away, but always watching. Every time she turned a corner, he would appear again. He never spoke, never moved closer, just watched. His presence was heavy, like a shadow that refused to leave her side. Zero felt trapped. Even in an open street, she felt trapped. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore. She turned to face him, her voice shaking, but loud enough to echo. Why are you following me? What do you want? The man stayed silent for a moment. Then, slowly, he began walking toward her. His boots made soft sounds on the dirty street. As he came closer, she could see his face more clearly now. His eyes were sharp but not cruel. His mouth was set in a hard line, but something in his expression looked tired. When he was only a few steps away, he stopped. "Queenorix girl," he said in a flat voice, "you should not be here. This colony is closed to your kind unless you are chosen." There it was again. That word. Chosen. Zira's frustration and fear exploded at once. What does that mean? Who chooses? Why won't anyone explain? The man lowered his voice. "I cannot explain here. Too many ears, too many eyes. If you truly want answers, meet me tonight at the old docking bay, midnight." With that, he turned and walked away before she could say anything more. Zira felt dizzy. Her hunger, fear, and confusion were all mixed together, but one thing was clear now. She had to go to the old docking bay tonight. If this protector held the answers, she needed them. Her future, maybe even her life, depended on it as the silent streets stretched out before her. Zira realized that Earth was nothing like she had dreamed. This was not a place of hope. This was a place of secrets, and she was right in the middle of them. The final off of the hours crawled slowly. Zira sat on a broken crate in a dark corner of the colony. The cold wind brushed her face as she watched the sun set behind the metal towers. Lights flickered on, but the streets stayed quiet. Few dared walk near this part of the colony at night. Her mind spun with questions. What did this protector want? Why did everyone avoid her? Why was she marked? Hunger gnawed at her again. Her hands trembled as she pulled her thin jacket closer. She thought about giving up, about leaving this cruel place. But where would she go? Her home planet was gone. There was nothing left for her there. By midnight, she finally made her way to the old docking bay. The place was nearly abandoned. Rusted walls, cracked floors, and empty crates piled high. The air smelled of dust and old fuel. In the middle of the bay, a single light hung from a metal beam, swaying gently. Under that light stood the man in the dark coat. He was waiting for her. Zira approached slowly, her heart racing. Her voice was soft but firm. "I am here," she said. "I need answers, please. Why does no one trust me? Why can't I find work? What does it mean to be chosen?" The man nodded, his face calm but serious. "You're brave to come, Queenorix girl. Most would have left by now." Zira's hands clenched into fists. "I don't have anywhere else to go." He looked at her carefully, then spoke in a low voice. "I will explain. But first, you must understand something important. This colony has laws, rules designed to protect humans and aliens like you. Long ago, a Queenorix group betrayed Earth. Since then, every Queenorix must prove themselves before being accepted." Zira's heart sank. "But I had nothing to do with that. Was just a child." He raised a hand, stopping her. "I know, but fear is stronger than reason here. The colony requires every Queenorix to have a protector before they can stay. A protector must vouch for you, offer you shelter, and take responsibility for your actions." She stared at him, confused and desperate. "Will you? Will you be my protector?" The man stepped closer. "Not so fast. I do not take this role lightly. If I vouch for you, your life and actions will reflect on me. I will be judged for your mistakes." Zira felt her chest tighten. Her hope was slipping away again. But then his voice softened. "However, I will give you one chance." Her eyes widened. "What do I need to do?" He met her gaze, holding it for a long moment. Then he said something unexpected. "Offer yourself." Zira froze. A cold fear ran down her spine. "Offer myself? How?" She whispered. His expression didn't change. Not your body, your loyalty, your trust, your honesty. You will work for me, live under my roof, follow my rules. If you betray me even once, I will turn you out, and no one else will help you. The tension in her chest slowly eased, but her heart was still racing. This was not what she had feared. But it was still a hard offer. If she said yes, her life would belong to him, at least for a time. But if she said no, she would have nothing. The man waited quietly for her answer, his eyes calm but serious. Finally, Zero nodded slowly. I accept. I offer myself. For the first time, the man's expression softened just a little. Good, he said simply. Come, we begin tomorrow. He turned and began walking away, but paused after a few steps. One more thing, he added. My name is Marcus, and from this moment, you are under my protection. Zira stood still. For a few seconds, her mind spinning. Then she followed him, her steps slow but steady as she walked behind him. She felt something strange, a small, fragile feeling she had not felt in a long time. Hope, even though she didn't know what tomorrow would bring. She knew this was her only chance, and she would not waste it. The hidden Lotha next morning. Zira awoke in a small but clean room. The walls were made of old steel, but the bed was soft. A blanket covered her for the first time in many nights. For a moment she felt safe, but then the memories rushed back. She was not free. She was under Marcus's protection now. She sat up slowly and looked around. The small window let in pale sunlight. There was a table, a chair, and a set of simple clothes folded neatly at the edge of the bed. A note lay on top. Meet me downstairs. Breakfast is waiting. Zira's stomach growled. She quickly dressed and walked down the creaky metal stairs into a small kitchen area. Marcus was sitting at the table, drinking something that smelled warm and rich. He didn't smile, but he nodded at her as she entered. On the table was a plate of bread and fruit. Without asking, she sat down and ate quickly. She hadn't tasted real food in days. When she finished, Marcus finally spoke. Today, you will learn the truth, he said. Not just about why no one would help you, but about this colony's hidden law. Zira's hands froze around her. Cup, why won't anyone explain this law? Why is it hidden? Marcus leaned back in his chair, his face calm but serious. This law is not written on any public wall, he said. It's older than the colony itself. It was created after the Great Betrayal, when a group of Queenorix spies came here long ago. They lived among humans, worked beside them, and then one day, they turned. They destroyed part of this colony and killed hundreds. Zira's chest tightened. But that was a long time ago, she whispered, and I was just a child when I left my planet. I know, Marcus said quietly, but fear lingers. After that day, the leaders created a rule. No Queenorix can work, live, or even stay here unless a human takes responsibility for them, unless a human becomes their protector. Zero lowered her eyes. So this was why every door had closed to her. No one wanted to risk their life and reputation for a Queenorix. It's not fair, she said softly. Marcus nodded. It isn't, but it is the way things are. He stood and motioned for her to follow him. Come, he said. There's more. You need to see. Zero followed Marcus outside. The streets looked different now. With him at her side, people no longer looked at her with fear. Some nodded politely. Others stepped aside. It was as if a switch had been turned. They passed a group of shopkeepers who had rejected her before. Now they greeted Marcus with respect and even smiled politely at her. This made her heart feel heavy. She hadn't changed. But the presence of one man had changed everything. They walked for a long time until they reached a large building near the colony's center. On the wall was a strange symbol, a circle with a line through it, surrounded by stars. Zira had seen this symbol before, but never understood its meaning. Marcus pointed at it. This is the mark of the Protectors. Only humans who carry this mark can take a Caloran under their care. He turned to her, his gaze steady. But being under a Protector's care is not just about living safely. It means you must obey the Protector's rules. You are judged by their reputation. Their honor becomes your honor. Zira felt a mix of emotions, anger, sadness, gratitude. She wanted freedom, but she also wanted to live. "Do you regret helping me?" she asked. Suddenly, Marcus looked at her for a long moment. "No," he said simply. "You remind me of someone I once cared for, a long time ago." There was pain in his voice, but he said nothing more. Zira wanted to ask about his past, but she stayed quiet. She felt this was not the right time. Instead, she took a deep breath and said, "What must I do now?" Marcus gave her a small nod. "You will start working here, in my workshop. You will clean, organize, and learn the ways of this colony. But more importantly, you will prove that not all Colorans deserve to be feared." His words carried weight. She realized that her actions would reflect not just on herself, but on all Colorans who came after her. For the first time since she arrived, Zira felt a sense of purpose. She was no longer just surviving. Now she had a chance to change something. Maybe even change the way humans and Colorans saw each other. As she followed Marcus back to the workshop, she knew this was just the beginning. Earth's hidden law had almost destroyed her hope. But now, maybe she could find a way to break it. The Protectors test the next morning. Zira rose early. She didn't need an alarm. Her mind was awake long before the sun touched the dusty windows. She dressed quickly and went downstairs, ready to begin her new life in Marcus's workshop. But when she reached the bottom step, she stopped. Marcus was waiting. But he wasn't alone. 3 humans stood beside him, all wearing dark coats like his, with the strange Circle Land star symbol on their sleeves. Their faces were serious, eyes sharp and cold. Zira felt her heart sink. Something was different. This wasn't just about working today. Marcus nodded at her, his voice steady but cold. "Today is your test." Zira's hands trembled slightly. "What kind of test?" Marcus took a step forward. His gaze met hers, steady and unreadable. Before any Caloran can truly be accepted, they must pass a test of character. This isn't written anywhere. It's a tradition, older than this colony itself. One of the other Protectors, a tall woman with silver hair, spoke next. "This test is not about your skills. It is about trust, honesty, and respect. We must know who you really are inside." Zira swallowed hard. She nodded slowly. "What must I do?" Marcus pointed to the workshop door. "Inside, you'll find 3 rooms. Each room has a task. You must complete them all. But how you complete them matters more than finishing them quickly." Zira took a deep breath. Her heart raced, but she couldn't refuse. Not now. She had come too far. Without a word, she stepped into the workshop. The first room was small and dimly lit. On the floor was a basket of broken tools, rusty hammers, bent wrenches, cracked handles. A note on the wall read, "Fix what is broken, or throw it away." Zira knelt down and studied the tools carefully. Her first thought was to throw them all out. They looked useless. But then she noticed something. Some tools were only lightly damaged, their handles loose but fixable. Others were truly beyond repair. She worked slowly, separating what could be saved and carefully fixing what she could, tightening bolts, replacing handles, cleaning rust. She didn't rush. When she finished, she left the fixed tools neatly arranged and threw away only Those that were truly broken. In the second room, there was a small locked box on a table. Next to it was a key, but not the key for the lock. A camera above the table blinked red. Watching her? Beside the key was a note. You may open the box, but you don't need to. Zira felt her curiosity burn. What was inside? Why leave a key? Here, if it wasn't the right one. Her fingers touched the box gently. She could try to break it open. No one would know. Except Marcus and the protectors watching. But she remembered Marcus's words. This test was about trust. She stepped back, leaving the box untouched. Finally, she entered the third room. In this room sat a small creature, not human, not Queenorix, but something weaker, small and shaking. Its fur was dirty and its eyes wide with fear. Beside it was a whip and a bowl of water. A note on the wall said simply, "Make it obey." Zira felt anger rise in her chest. This creature was clearly terrified and hungry. She didn't want to hurt. She knelt beside it slowly, holding out her hand gently. The creature sniffed her fingers and whimpered. Then she took the bowl of water and placed it carefully in front of it. After a few minutes, the creature drank, then sat quietly beside her, its body relaxed. Zira didn't need the whip when she stepped out of the workshop. The three protectors stood waiting. Marcus met her gaze first. For a long time, no one spoke. Then Marcus smiled, just a little. "You did well," he said. His voice was quiet, but held a new warmth. The silver-haired woman nodded. "You passed." Zira felt her knees weaken slightly. Relief rushed through her. What was this test really about? She asked. Marcus's answer was simple but powerful. It was never about tasks, he said. It was about choices. We needed to know if you would rush or think carefully, if you would steal or respect, if you would hurt the weak or show kindness. He stepped closer, his voice softer now. Many Queenorix failed this test before. That's why this law exists. But today, you showed us something rare and precious. Zira felt tears in her eyes. For the first time since she arrived on Earth, someone finally saw her, not just as a Queenorix, but as a person. Her long journey was not over. But tonight, she had won a victory. A human had given her trust, and she had proved herself worthy. Of it a human's kindness the morning after her test, Zira woke up, feeling different. For days, she had lived in fear, hungry, desperate, rejected. But today, there was a strange warmth in her heart. Marcus had accepted her. For the first time since landing on Earth, she felt like she could breathe. When she came downstairs, she found Marcus already working. Tools were spread out on the table. Pieces of broken machines laid neatly in rows. But today, it was something new. A small plate of food waiting at her place at the table. Without saying a word, Marcus motioned for her to sit as she ate quietly. He finally spoke. "You surprised us, Zira," he said, his voice calm but softer than before. "You did not have to show kindness to that creature yesterday. Many before you chose force. But you chose care." Zira looked up, unsure how to answer. "It was afraid," she said softly. "I know what that feels like." Marcus nodded slowly, as if he understood more than he let on. After breakfast, he showed her around the workshop properly. He taught her how to clean the tools the right way, how to organize spare parts, and even how to repair small machines as they worked together. Zira noticed something. Marcus was not like the other humans she had met so far. His hands were rough from years of work, but they were careful and patient. His words were few, but he listened when she spoke. And most of all, he never looked at her with fear. There was no hate in his eyes, only a quiet sadness and a deep tiredness. In the afternoon, Marcus took her into the market area. This was the first time she returned to the streets as a protected Queenorix. She expected cold stares. She expected doors to close again, but things were different now. When she walked beside Marcus, the shopkeepers nodded politely. Some even smiled slightly. No one turned her away. No one whispered behind her back. It was as if a heavy wall had suddenly been lifted. At one shop, Marcus bought her a simple scarf, plain but warm. "You'll need this," he said as he handed it to her. "The nights are colder this season." Zero took it with trembling hands. No one had ever given her a gift since she left Kalor. She wrapped it around her neck slowly. Feeling the soft cloth against her skin, that simple act touched her deeply. It was not about the scarf itself, it was about kindness. Kindness when she least expected it. Kindness from a human after so many rejections as they walked back. Marcus finally shared a part of his own story. "Years ago," he began, his voice low, "I protected another Kaloran. A young man. He was clever, skilled, but impatient. He broke the rules and betrayed me." Zero listened carefully, her heart heavy. She could hear the pain behind his calm voice. "After that," Marcus continued, "I swore I would never take another under my protection. But when I saw you, something changed. You reminded me of him." Of what went wrong? Zira stopped walking. She looked up at him and said softly, "Thank you for giving me a chance anyway." Marcus met her gaze for a long moment. Then he gave the smallest smile. "You earned that chance, Zira," he said, "and you're earning your place here." As they reached the workshop door, Zira looked around at the colony. It looked the same as before, same metal walls, same dusty streets, same neon lights. But to her, it felt completely different. This was no longer a place where every door was closed. This was a place where kindness could exist, even for a Kaloran. That night, as she prepared for sleep, Zira sat by the small window and stared up at the stars. For the first time since her desperate arrival, she felt something real, not just hope, but belonging. And she knew this was only the beginning. A new beginning. The days passed quickly after that. Zero worked hard in Marcus's workshop, learning every tool, every machine, and every small detail about life in the colony. But it wasn't just the work that changed her. It was how people slowly started to change around her. The shopkeepers who had once turned her away now nodded when she passed. A few even spoke simple greetings. The other aliens who had avoided her before now met her eyes without fear. Some even asked her quietly how she had found a protector, as if they, too, were wondering if they might someday be accepted. But, most surprising of all, Zura began to feel safe at night when she sat by the window wrapped in the scarf Marcus had given her. She thought about the path that had brought her here. She remembered the cold streets, the locked doors, the silent stairs. She remembered the pain of being invisible. Now, things were different. It was not perfect. Some humans still looked at her with suspicion. The hidden law still existed. The rule about Kalorans still stood. But somehow, Zira felt she had broken through that wall, even just a little. She had proven that kindness was stronger than fear. One evening, Marcus called her into the workshop. He held a small metal tag, a worker's badge, with her name engraved on it. "This is yours now," he said simply. Zira took the badge carefully, her fingers shaking slightly. This badge meant she was no longer a beggar. She was no longer desperate. She was part of this place. Marcus looked at her, his expression calm but kind. "You earned it," he said. "You belong here." Zira smiled, a true, quiet smile that came from deep inside. "Thank you," she said softly as she pinned the badge to her shirt. Something inside her heart settled. The fear, the hunger, the pain, it didn't control her anymore. From now on, she would work honestly. She would live with dignity. She would honor Marcus's trust. Later that night, as she sat outside under the stars, she thought about her. People the Calorans who might come here one day, maybe. The doors would open more easily for them. Maybe she had begun something small, but important. She closed her eyes and whispered to herself, "This is my new beginning." Above her, the stars shined quietly, as if they, too, had been watching her journey, and far in the distance, where shadows once hid the faces of strangers, Zira saw something she had not seen before. She saw hope, not just for herself, but for all who might follow.